Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. To start things off, if this does not make you extremely bullish on Bitcoin, I honestly have no idea what in the world possibly could. The CEO of Pixelmatic and the CSO of Blockstream, Samson Mao, revealed on Twitter that the Bank of China admits Bitcoin is expanding and its price growing. In an infographic published by the financial institution, that is to say the Bank of China, they explain how Bitcoin works and how it acquires its value. Bitcoin continues growing around the world, with financial institutions confirming that the virtual currency is being adopted by individuals and companies around the world. The Bank of China is one of the largest state-owned financial institutions in the country, with a presence all around the world. This makes a contrast with the policies that the central bank of the country, the People's Bank of China, took regarding Bitcoin and digital assets. Banks could be the most affected entities due to the expansion of virtual currencies, including Bitcoin and other private digital assets such as Libra, which is going to be launched by Facebook. China has been usually very negative towards Bitcoin over the last, 3-4 years. The country remains one of the most autocratic in the world. For example, Bitcoin exchanges have been banned from the country. Individuals are not able to freely transact digital assets, although there are different ways to avoid the blockade. The Chinese crypto market has been severely affected. So the fact that, here's the actual thing, here's an article right here from Yahoo, where they're talking about, it says the Bank of China is bullish for Bitcoin. And we've spoken a multitude of times before about the potential effects that a government would have, or a bank would have, or any other major financial institution or otherwise would have on the cryptocurrency space once they openly admitted that they were actually into it, that they liked it, that they were using it, that they were buying it, or that they had backed it in some sort of way. I've seen, even in a couple of other, once again, listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the actual, not ramifications, it's too strong a word, the actual implications, or what would happen after this ended up taking place, because it wasn't believed that this would actually take place for a very long time. So continuing a little bit on, just to show you exactly what this even looks like, here's the actual thing right here. I don't speak and or read Mandarin, but for those of you who are looking at the screen, or even those of you who are not, I'm going to go through some of it because a lot of it is fairly obvious exactly what they mean. There's an image of Bitcoin, the television, so on and so forth. There's a photo of Justin Sun, which I thought was kind of weird. For those who are more on the speculative, hey, what's that going on their side, a year, and I want to say about 2 years ago, there was a lot of speculation that the cryptocurrency known as Neo was going to be adopted by China. And that was simply because Neo was called the Ethereum of China. And there we go. And therefore, people believe that at some point it would be heavily adopted by the government, as they would look for a way to continue to have control over cryptocurrencies in their country as cryptocurrencies got larger and larger, and therefore they couldn't ignore it, so that they would simply start using or integrating into Neo instead. The fact that there's a photo of Justin Sun in a article, I don't even know what to call this thing, in something that was released by the People's Bank of China, tells me that something is probably happening behind the scenes with Justin Sun and them. If you've never watched a documentary on China, if you have no idea what's happening within China, how much control they have over things, this means that he's probably had some type of conversations with actual government leaders as far as them using this platform. And that's not, first of all, if you've been here before, you know I do not care for Tron, but this is very, I want to use the word suspicious. There's also another guy right here. I have no idea who this person is, but these are the only two people shown in a publication by the Bank of China in an article, something that they've created to talk about the future of cryptocurrencies. Just keep that somewhere in the back of your head. Little photos of people, and then it shows these really weird images of people having their thumbs up and being happy that they're actually, and this person's angry, using cryptocurrencies. It says part 1, there's a person who I assume is supposed to be Satoshi Nakamoto, as he is masked by a Bitcoin behind a computer. It shows a little microchip. It says peer-to-peer, and then it shows a little like bank thing. It even talks about people mining, which is something very interesting as well, because China controls an enormous amount of the, I haven't seen the exact metrics before, but about a year and some change ago, we knew for a fact that China was controlling anywhere from 48 to around 70-something% of all the mining activity that was happening within China. It even has the actual mining rewards and the reward being cut in half events. 2012, 2016, 25. The 2016 to 2020, 12.5. And then it goes to 2020, 2024, 6.5 Bitcoin. Keeping in mind that, once again, this is from the Bank of China. And China, typically over the last couple of years, being a country that has been hyper negative towards Bitcoin, why would they be putting something like this out to be able to educate the people within their country? The weirdest part about it that I found was, for those of you who are not looking at the screen, it shows a guy proposing to a woman, and then like her being extremely happy as she says yes about it. Why? For those of you who can read Mandarin, please tell me exactly what this says, because I sat here and I was like, is he giving her Bitcoin for their wedding? Is she happy that they're cartoons? I don't know exactly what it is. And they kind of go through also the history of Bitcoin. 2018, 2009 is when it first started. 2010, it says 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza. I can't read it, but I can kind of get it from the images. 2013, 1 Bitcoin, 100 US dollars. 2014, Mount Gox. 2017, Bitcoin hits $20,000. In 2018, it goes down to $3,200. In 2019, it says Facebook Libra, and that's kind of where the timeline ends, as we are in 2019. It's very fascinating. Here is, right, for those of you who also don't know, which makes it even more confusing, is that for some reason over the last, it has to be about a year and a half at this point, that China releases cryptocurrency rankings. And I mentioned this before in 2018. I said the weirdest part of all of this is that Bitcoin is banned in China. No one can use it. No one can transact in it. No one can so and so in it. So why would a major country, I believe China has, was like 1.4 billion people or something like that, rough estimate, who are actually in their country. If they're so negative against cryptocurrencies, why would they constantly be releasing information to their citizens about the best cryptocurrencies? What's the worst cryptocurrencies? How this cryptocurrency works? This is an old ranking, so don't even pay much attention to this, but they were constantly releasing this, and there was, once again, a lot of speculation as to why Tron was number 2. That's not to say that Tron's tech isn't good. It's more so like, I think Tron was still relatively new by the time that these rankings were coming out, and Tron was always usually towards the top of the charts, even before the Tron virtual machine and all these other things had actually ended up launching. For those who also didn't know, this article is from October 25th, 2018. China actually published, for those who don't know, there's a major name in the cryptocurrency space. His name is Andreas Antonopoulos. He is pretty much he travels around the world and he gives the word of Bitcoin to other people. He lets them know exactly what it is. He's met with world leaders and other politicians to let them know that they shouldn't be afraid of it, because he said he's had many discussions with these people who ask him, okay, well, tell us exactly how evil this is. And he's like, you don't understand that this is actually just a payment network for people to be able to send transactions and stuff back and forth. He created a book called Mastering Bitcoin, and China took the book and published it themselves, and they changed it to Mastering Blockchain. That was a very big thing. It was apparently the exact same book, exactly the same, except they had changed the word Bitcoin in every single instance to the word blockchain, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, because sometimes it just doesn't really fit together. Anyway, the point is, China seems to have a very big obsession with Bitcoin. And I want people to pay attention to this, once again, especially if you're here for the long term, to really get it into your minds that we are going to have countries who are going to get into the cryptocurrency space and are probably already into the cryptocurrency space. And the reason why I mention this once again is because the writing's on the wall. It's not even like China has been rather coy or has made sure to have announcements where they say, no, we don't know. How do you even spell Bitcoin? What's a Bitcoin? As if they are completely unaware of its existence. They have, also, I don't even have the tab open for this. Remember sometime last year as well, apparently within China, there was a day where on public television, they had a television show, I think it was 2, 3, 4, 5 hours long, where the hosts, people who were talking on the channel, actually spoke about the benefits of blockchain. It was an entire big thing, and I think that happened right before this book actually came out. Remember, once again, where I was talking about, I said, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a country out there who took the initiative to tell their people or to tell their country or to tell their citizens about the benefits of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and to kind of give them a rundown on everything and exactly like how it could benefit them. And lo and behold, this was happening right before my eyes. This was happening in China. I'm not going to say that China is going to be the largest or quickest or greatest adopter of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but look at all the information. 2018, they had that TV show, long-running show on their public broadcasting channel where they talked about the benefits of cryptocurrencies. They took Andreas Antonopoulos' book called Mastering Bitcoin and changed it into Mastering Blockchain, which I assume tens of thousands, if not low millions of people within the country have actually ended up purchasing. China releases cryptocurrency rankings, every month or something like that. This is also something that's run through the government. Like, it's not even like something, there we go. It says the Center for Information and Industry Development, or the CCID, under China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. All these things run from the government. If you have never seen a documentary on China, please do so. The government controls everything. And I don't mean some of the things, I mean every single thing that happens within that country, the government knows about. So all of these things are coming. Someone has to go to the government and say, hey, we're going to do this. Can we do this? And they go, yeah, you can do it. Or the government told someone else and said, you're going to do this. And they go, okay, we're going to do that. That's how things work in China. They also released this. This happened about a day or two ago. This is an entire infographic about the history of Bitcoin. It's showing happy people. I assume that is indicative of what they're talking about in the actual. Why would they be going through so much trouble to actually tell their citizens exactly what is happening with Bitcoin? Especially because a large part of the issue that we've had with other countries, especially similar to kind of Russia, but there are countries that have, especially China, they have their own, what is known as like the Great Firewall of China. For those of you who got that pun, it's very easy. And we were expecting for a very long time that because China has their own internet, as it were. Like, they don't use Google, they can't use Facebook, they can't use Twitter, they can't use Instagram, they can't use, I almost said MySpace. They can't use any of the older platforms or anything like that. They have their own everything. They have their own PayPal, they have everything. The government's doing a lot more than one would assume a government would be doing, especially if they had a negative stance towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I would not be surprised. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I feel like something is bubbling behind the scenes. Can you imagine? And this is what kind of annoys me as well with the cryptocurrency space, as irrational, hyper irrational as the entire cryptocurrency space is. If we had information that the United States of America had released an infographic that was given out to all of its citizens on some website, or everyone was kind of told, hey, go there and look at this, that was talking about the benefits of Bitcoin, the benefits of cryptocurrencies. If the United States every single month was releasing cryptocurrency price rankings and talking about the technology, the creativity, the overall ranking of the cryptocurrency, how well it's doing, where it's going, who's behind it, even without the sanitization of the word, imagine if the US government had come forward and they said, hey, there's a book out and it's called Mastering Bitcoin, and I think you should all read it. Where the price of Bitcoin would be. China is, in the future, and probably even right now, going to be a force to be reckoned with, just simply because of the amount of people who they have in their country. They have a lot of buying power, and this is why one of the main reasons over the last 20 to 30 years, China has become a powerhouse, as far as an economic powerhouse, because of the amount of people who are in their country and what they can simply do. The point is, in the irrationality of the market, I think people lose sight of this. I think people hear the word China, hear the word Zimbabwe, hear the word Argentina, hear the word Europe, hear the word Australia, South Africa, anywhere, and they simply think, okay, well, that's cool and fine that they did that, but what about the US? And this is why I was getting so annoyed last year, because we had that entire rhetoric that the market wouldn't move until we had an ETF that was approved from the United States, even at the same exact time, while we had ETPs and ETNs that were being launched in Sweden and other Nordic countries and other major countries around the world, and no one really took notice. I think eventually the market will take notice. I think what will make people take notice once again is when prices start going back up, when we're above around $12,000, $13,000. I have keep a lookout for your local news outlets, or even some of the larger news companies out there, and pay attention to see if they start talking about China having a bullish stance on Bitcoin because no one's talking about it right now. I've seen a couple of other sprinkle of other cryptocurrency channels like talking about it, but no one was really into it. It was more like, yeah, China likes Bitcoin. So the next thing we're going to talk about, it's not like you have to understand how big this is. There's no other country in the world, especially one as influential and as large as China, who's come forward talking about the benefits. Look, they're going through the entire rundown of the cryptocurrency space and like what it can do for you. And so I wish I could read this. It's showing a piggy bank, which assumes to me and a person with a money head that they're probably telling people this is a way to invest and this is a way to have or money for the people later on. I wish I could get exactly what's going on. Anyway, the point is, at least you all know and no one else that the Bank of China is talking positively about Bitcoin. The other podcast that I was listening to, they were talking about, they were very shocked the fact that it had to be about a week and a half ago or somewhere around that time frame, where I think the head of the federal government, it was someone very major in the United States, they had mentioned that there was a correlation between Bitcoin and gold, i.e. that people were actually buying up Bitcoin as a store of value. And I think the price went down a little tiny bit that day. And they were like, one of the most influential people in the United States had actually come forward and said that Bitcoin was similar to gold, that people around the world are buying Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation or other things, whatever typically people might buy gold for. And it's like the price goes down, like normal people, anyone in the world didn't realize, oh my gosh, like this is incredibly bullish. The fact that even they were talking about as well in the same exact podcast, the fact that the idea is that regardless if Libra actually ends up making it or not, Libra is going to be one of the greatest things that's ever happened to the cryptocurrency space. If Libra does launch, we'll be able to see the actual price of Libra tokens in comparison to the price of Bitcoin and the price of these Satoshis, and seeing the value actually go down every single day of Libra in comparison to Bitcoin, which will show the strength of Bitcoin. If Libra does not launch, it even shows more of the strength of Bitcoin because Bitcoin can't be called into a hearing by the Senate. Bitcoin can't be called into a sitting by Congress where they're saying, hey, you're going to have to slow this down. Can you stop what you're doing? Like it's the same as the thing that they were saying to Facebook before. It's really weird. And this is what kind of makes me, I don't know. It kind of is what it is. I just wish that more people paid attention to what was happening within the cryptocurrency space, because it would be great for millions of people around the world. They really took note as to exactly what's happening. Yeah, there's the other tab. Here's mastering Bitcoin. And let's continue on. Next up, technical and fundamental crypto analyst Nicholas Merton says whales are responsible for Bitcoin's sudden volatile price action. He attributes Bitcoin's rise above 10,000 and subsequent sharp drop about to around 9,400 to a handful of large Bitcoin holders looking to manipulate the price of leading cryptocurrency in order to reap the rewards by simultaneously trading on leverage. He said, "The few people who are coordinating these prop-ups of the market and dumps in the market, and they're actually not really competing against you. In fact, they're actually trying to compete against one another, because really anyone can do this. If you have enough Bitcoin, what you do is you manipulate the spot market and you trade on margin on exchanges like BitMEX. So if I have enough Bitcoin to push Bitcoin's price down $600, I might incur some slippage in the process. I'm going to, for example, sell a lot of my Bitcoin through its price range, clearing through the order book. But what I'm actually trying to do is have another position on BitMEX is trading on leverage, 10x leverage, meaning I'm trading with 20 times the capital. So even though I might incur the cost of trying to push the price down, I might be shorting Bitcoin on margin and be making a fortune." For those who have no idea what he's talking about, it's pretty much, imagine two marketplaces, and you run over to one and you go, this has poison in it, this has poison in it, and everyone starts selling on that side, and then the other side you go, that side has poison, this one's amazing. So you kind of bet against, that was terrible. You kind of just bet against what you're doing on another place, but you make sure that you do it on leverage, which allows you to make a lot more money. If you lose on leverage, you lose an enormous amount of money. But if you bet correctly on leverage against something that you know is going to happen, like imagine saying, oh, the housing crisis is going to happen because 50 million people are going to sell their homes, and you just happen to own 50 million homes. Well, therefore, you know exactly what's going to happen. So anyway, the point is, I'm not surprised. This should not have surprised anyone that there is manipulation in the market, or rather some of the richest people in the world are trying to make sure that they accumulate more cryptocurrencies. When you trade on 10x leverage and you're trying to accumulate more Bitcoin, you are accumulating a massive amount of Bitcoin. When you're doing, I mean, it kind of just is what it is. No one should really be surprised. I saw a couple of people asking why the prices had gone down. If the price falls down, especially very suddenly, it's usually whales. There's not a coordinated mental effort by, it's estimated, around 150 million plus people who are in the cryptocurrency market within the world, who are like, oh, okay, let's all sell at the exact same time. It's always happening by the largest people. And even the larger problem that we had last year was that people would simply put in sell orders that could never be filled, and people would start to panic thinking that these sell orders would be filled, so they tried to sell their cryptocurrencies before. And what ended up happening was, as the price went down, those people, or rather other heavy-handed people, one can only assume that it's them on the other side, buying up massive amounts of Bitcoin. The sell order that was there would disappear, and that's kind of all she wrote. Next up, Andreas Antonopoulos, once again, is actually in the news. The cryptocurrency advocate and supporter. His name is Andreas Antonopoulos. If you have never heard him speak, please do so. He spoke a couple of weeks ago as well. He speaks, I think he mentioned before, it's actually kind of sad. Not that he doesn't have a home, but he said he's constantly flying around. He kind of just lives out of hotel rooms, because every time he's done with an event, someone else on another country is like, hey, can you please say the same exact thing over here so we can have more, not advocacy, but just more knowledge within the cryptocurrency space. Andreas Antonopoulos said that millionaires do not need cryptocurrency during a speech at the CoinScrum meeting at the Monzo Bank headquarters in London. The author of Mastering Bitcoin suggested that the most popular digital asset helps those that are most vulnerable in the world. At the event, he stated by saying that if digital currency is not useful for some individuals, it does not mean that it cannot help others. He said, and I do quote, "If it's not useful to you, that doesn't mean it's not useful. It just means you in that particular dominion or domain are privileged. When you hear Warren Buffett say, I don't need crypto, of course you don't need crypto. You're a white-haired old man with billions of dollars. Have you ever been denied banking services? Unlikely," end quote. He went on to talk about Jamie Dimon, et cetera, et cetera. He also had a little bit more as far as what he was talking about. It's very fascinating, because I'm glad that I like when major figures in the cryptocurrency space come forward and say things like this. There's been a huge thing, and I am glad that we've gotten away from it. I'm glad that we had the crash of 2018. I really honestly am, because we got away from a lot of that Lambo, win pretty wife, win so-and-so, I'm going to be super rich, mega awesome money, yeah, living in so-and-so. And it's like, why you people don't really get exactly what's happening. This is something that was created 9-10 years ago that's dismantling our world. It's tearing the current financial system apart brick by brick. It has nothing to do with a Lambo. It has nothing to do with you having a pretty girlfriend. It has nothing to do with you being able to buy a mansion. These things will probably all come true, but you have to really pay attention to why Bitcoin was created. The original intention of Bitcoin was to help people who were affected by the economic crisis of 2009, which was just about everyone except for the top 1% of the 1% who actually ended up making money as these things went down and the financial system collapsed. This is why I mentioned before as well. I said the same exact thing talking about China, how fascinating it would be if we had a country. I was hoping it would be a South American country or an African country, anywhere within the Southeast Asian area, that came forward and did things like this to let their government or people or citizens know, look at what this did, look at where it was, look at where it is, and look at where it could potentially be going. This is why I once again continue doing this channel. First of all, I like cryptocurrencies. You all know that. I like all of you out there. This is why I also continue. Except for the couple of really rude people. I think they've left. They might have fled somewhere. But it's because I like getting in contact with normal people, air quotes. For those of you who don't know, I grew up incredibly poor, like very, very poor. And I want other people to know that there's kind of a way out. I need you to understand that 10,000 Bitcoin bought a pizza. One Bitcoin was worth $100, and now we have a Bitcoin that's floating around $9,600. When we have major countries and organizations and everything else, everyone on the planet knows what a Bitcoin is now. Talking about getting into the cryptocurrency space, buying up fragments of it when we know that the reward is going to be cut in half, when we know that this is going to be integrated into the world system in some sort of way, even if it's just through stock exchanges who are transacting trillions of dollars between them every single year as they do trades back and forth, that this is going to be absolutely major. And this is why I was very excited last year when the people of Venezuela were actually, there were some documentaries and everything like that, where we had news that they were actually buying up Bitcoin as a way to be able to eat and do things without the government knowing. It's incredibly fascinating. If a government tells you, I'm going to continue printing out money, and therefore what you had and what you thought you could buy with your paycheck is going to be worthless by the time you actually end up cashing your check. There's a way for you to eat, for you to feed your family, for you to go out and be able to buy new pairs of clothes, to buy new shoes, to buy new sandals, to buy a new hat, to buy something if you're hungry. It's incredibly fascinating, and you have to also keep this in mind and never let it go out of your head. The name for Bitcoin now is rich. Is if you have Bitcoin, you're going to be rich. If Bitcoin is going to be so-and-so, you're going to be rich. Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000. Bitcoin is going to hit $1 million. Bitcoin is going to hit 18 million bajillion trillion dollars. Keep in mind that this can also benefit you. This can also benefit your friends and your family. I know a lot of you out there have been trying to do your due diligence and help other people you know. Sometimes people will be a bit annoying and they won't get into the cryptocurrency space. They won't want to buy it. They will only get into it when the prices are skyrocketing and you then realize that they could have had some before. It makes me annoyed that more people who could benefit from this aren't in it. There are, I was going to say hundreds, there are billions of people on this planet who could directly benefit from even just holding $15 worth of Bitcoin. Like, it's, anyway, I don't even know how to really end this part or this segment, but it's very true. I wish that we had a little hint of the old cryptocurrency space in the market where we are right now. It's nice to hear that there are, every single day, that more people are getting to the cryptocurrency space, but I wish we had more. And I've stopped caring about the price because I know where the price is going to go. It's more like we need more people who need Bitcoin in the space. Like, millionaires, hundreds of millionaires and billionaires aren't going to benefit any more from cryptocurrency. They're just going to get even richer. And what's going to happen is, and I know this is going to happen, is that as they become incredibly rich, the people who could have had are going to have nothing, and they'll continue looking up at these people in the sky saying, oh my gosh, I wish I could be as rich as you. I wish I had this opportunity. And you have the opportunity right now. Not even financial advice. Please pay attention to where all this is going. Like, this isn't a small thing anymore. This is absolutely massive. We have the Bank of China openly talking about the price of Bitcoin and where it went and where it's going to go. And they have happy people smiling, getting married. I mean, you know what, whatever. Let's move on. The European Central Bank is getting prepared to print more money in order to deal with the current low growth rates that the Eurozone is experiencing. However, printing money may not be the best solution for these problems. It is not. Anthony Pompliano, the co-founder of Morgan Creek Digital, seems to have a very negative opinion about this. Mario Draghi, who is the president of the European Central Bank, has been working in order to launch a new package of monetary stimulus that is expected to boost the Eurozone economy in the coming months and years. There are many countries that are showing issues with their industrial production. The Eurozone Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index reached a 7.9 month low of 46.6 in July, when the market expected a 47.6 mark. The services PMI has also dropped to 53.3, although this shows it continues growing. Without reading anymore, the world economy is slowing down. Here's a chart of the GDP annual growth for the world. We keep having these very strong slowdowns, and just off of current metrics, the people are trying to figure out exactly what's happening. Go away. There we go. It says China's slowdown is the biggest threat to the world economy. There was news about this about 2 years ago, and what I think ends up happening is that people end up reading news like this and they go, okay, that's fine, that's cool. And then nothing dramatic ends up happening. They go, well, that's a load of crap. None of that's actually going to end up happening. And it's like, you have to look at the larger picture. China's growth has been going down and struggling for quite a long amount of time. They've done exceptionally well for themselves the last 20 to 30 years. They're one of the richest countries, or rather, they have a large population of people who are richer than other people in their country. But regardless of this, nothing goes up forever. It's impossible for growth to kind of continue moving in the way that we've seen before. For those of you who are not looking at the screen, it says the top International Monetary Fund official warns 70% of global economy is in a major slowdown. This is going to come to a head at a certain point. And people were asking, I've had friends ask me this, so I don't know if my friends are listening. Hello out there if you are. Why the printing of money is bad. It's because of the devaluation of something. Imagine you have a rock. You have the only rock in the world. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I love your rock. How much is that rock worth? You're like, $1 million. And someone goes home and they find a rock on their pillow and they're like, whoa, I also have a rock that's worth $1 million. And they go to you and people go, well, now there's 2 rocks. That's, there's not, it's still cool. It's still very rare. And everyone else goes home that night and they also find a rock on their pillow. I don't know why people are finding rocks on their pillows, but people are finding rocks on their pillows. And everyone in the world has a rock. And everyone's like, woo, $1 million. And everyone goes, well, there's 7.4 billion of these. Well, I guess they're just rocks. They're worthless at this point. So when you start printing more of something or creating more of something, it loses its value. And when you start producing an enormous amount, and we're not talking about thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions, we're talking about billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions to provide monetary stimulus to stimulate an economy that is going through struggles. So if I say, man, not doing well, I could use about 4.6 billion, and someone goes, wait, hold on, go to my printing machine. Here's 4.6 billion. All the other money that was printed around that is even more worthless than it was before. We also had indications that there were major people in the United States who were talking about also weakening the value of the dollar. Not sure if that's actually going to continue to end up happening, but I think China has started to print more money as well in an effort to actually purposefully, which actually ends up happening, to devalue their currency in an effort to make investment in their country more attractive. Every country does this, and this is why fiat is a problem, because you would have a stronger economy if your economy was actually based off of something, or rather, even if your monetary monthly fiat printing was based off of an actual asset that you were holding, as opposed to just printing because there's a problem, and then there ends up being a bigger problem, so you end up printing more money, and then when that problem gets even bigger, you go, I'll throw more money at it. You keep printing more money, and people have metrics of exactly how much money that you're printing, and we know exactly, typically, how large these stimulus packages are, and a large part of the Eurozone, a large part of the States, I don't think Canada's doing as bad. Some countries don't typically stumble as hard as others. The point is, the printing of money in any country at a rapid pace, rapid amount, is usually detrimental to the pockets of people living in that country. However, on the flip side, it tends to be great for Bitcoin in the wider cryptocurrency space as we see the devaluation of other currencies in comparison to Bitcoin. Part of the problem is it's a very weird double-edged sword. It's not even a double-edged sword. It's kind of like one side of the sword has a knife and the other side has like a big marshmallow. Because we are generally cushioned in the cryptocurrency space from things like this. Like the price of cryptocurrency tends to react very positively when we hear that there's economic turmoil, when we hear that a country is falling apart, when we hear that a country so and so, because people in that country start to put their money into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency system. But for the other hundreds of millions of people around these other countries who don't know about cryptocurrencies, who aren't putting their money into it, they feel the largest sting of it. So, I mean, it's quite fascinating. The European Central Bank may print more money, probably going to print more money to try and prop up other economies that aren't doing too well. We know that China and a number of other countries, and even better, pay attention to this. Countries print more money when their economies aren't doing well to make it seem like their economies are doing well. And when the prices of things in their country are going up because people think that it's doing well, people start to push more money into that country. And then when people see that the economy is not doing very well because they've printed too much money, the countries then starts to print more money to make it seem like their economy is doing well, which then causes other people to see that the economy is doing well. It's a very weird loop. It's just all debt. It's just all money that's being printed out of thin air to prop up the economy. And when people see that the economy is being propped up, like in these charts, people go, oh my gosh, that's great. That's wonderful. Let's start going to that country. The country ends up not, it's all a pattern. It just repeats over and over and over. Anyway, the point being, the economy of the world is slowing down. So please pay attention to exactly what's happening, because in the long run, this may, M-A-Y, this may benefit us. But I'm pretty sure everyone listening to this is old enough to remember 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012, and 2013 and exactly how many jobs were lost and all that other stuff. It's expected that the next economic crash is going to be one of the worst things that we've ever seen in our lives. And we're also at a time in history where everything is being automated. It's, for those, I don't know how many of you haven't opened up a newspaper. I've seen people talking in the comment section talking about that they don't listen to, read, or watch a lot of mainstream news anymore. I'm going to give you an update. Banks around the world are firing tens of thousands of people individually, not like collectively. Like certain banks are like, yeah, we're going to have to lay off 19,000 people. We're going to have to lay off 8,000 people. Over the next 5 years, we're cutting 46,000 jobs. It's because a lot of the banking sector can be completely automated. People typically don't need to go to a teller if they're having a certain issue. You can usually call this problem in, usually also to a robot, or you can simply just go to an ATM, or you can use your online banking. For those who also very fascinating, I forgot exactly what the thing is called. There's some, is it Ford? It's one of the major car companies. They created a like delivery robot. We are in a very interesting time right now. Just, I mean, whatever. We're here, so let's continue talking about it. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen, especially if you are in the States, they're trying to push the minimum wage up to $15 an hour. Certain states have already done this. The current estimates state that as the wages go up, it will actually bring a couple of million people in the States out of poverty, which is amazing. At the same exact time, that money has to be made up for, so several million other people will also be losing their jobs completely. Nearly everything that we have right now, nearly everything can be automated, and they're going to be automated. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I remember thinking about mentioning it. There are supermarkets in France that are being automated. There's, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. Oh, it's not Casino. There's one supermarket that's really popular in France. They've started doing that whole Amazon thing where there's like 1,000 cameras in the ceiling, and they can kind of tell when you pick up something when you put it back down. Everything is being automated. So imagine self-driving cars, self-driving trucks. I'm pretty sure Domino's has their own self-driving delivery thing that they're also launching. Uber has a self-driving fleet coming out. So does Tesla. Like everything in our world within the next 10 years that can be automated is going to be automated. Everything. Couple that with a 5-year recessionary bear market for the normal traditional markets, and you have a perfect storm unlike anything that we've ever seen. The world has never gone through a situation where everything or nearly everything can be automated. Telemarketers, phone companies, driving, like it's very anyway. I could talk about this forever. I have a friend, I think he's listening. Hello to you. Me and him talk about the future of technology very often. And I think it scares a lot of people. And I think one of the reasons why I'm not scared is because, or rather not as scared as other people, is because I try to make sure that I've insulated myself when I do this through cryptocurrencies and other investments. And this is why it's important to save your money. It's important to put money away. It's important to have money for a rainy day. It's important to not buy that television when you don't need one. It's important to not buy that third car when it's just you and your wife living at home. It's important to make sure that you save for when things go bad, because things always go bad. The good times do not go on forever. The world economy will have another slowdown, another crash, another whatever you kind of want to call it. And there will only be certain people who will benefit from it. And this is why, once again, I thought that the timing of all of this is a little suspect in my head. The fact that we see the Bank of China openly coming out in support of Bitcoin, the fact that we see the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, and the 30,000 other names who are now talking about supporting Bitcoin and that Bitcoin is going to be a world currency, doing this at the exact same time, or coming out in support of Bitcoin at the end of 2018, which was when we were getting the first signs of different governments around the world about the cracks in the current financial system. Kind of weird, right? As we know that the economy is slowing down around the world, some of the major and largest financial institutions on this planet, or rather the largest, not even some of the largest institutions in the world, are now backing cryptocurrencies. Remember, I also thought it was kind of weird as well that I think the first 27 names that we had who were backing Libra, keeping in mind, it was eBay, it was Uber, it wasn't Tesla. One of them was PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard. Why would Visa and MasterCard and PayPal, some of the richest companies in the world, be backing a cryptocurrency at a really weird time when crypto prices aren't even at their all-time high? Very weird, right? Always pay attention to things that are happening, because like I always say, typically we are never usually, as normal non-mega wealthy people, afforded this information. And the fact that we keep getting this information over and over lets me know that it's really bad. When things like this start leaking to the public, it means that something is terrible. If you've never watched the movie called The Big Short, it's incredible. And it kind of goes over the fact that even like a year before the economy was going to collapse, there were tons of analysts and investors around the world who were calling for a crash. They're like, something really bad is going to happen. Everyone was like, no, nothing's going to happen. People can tell these things months and months before. And even the year of the economic crash, people were screaming at the top of their lungs like, this is going to get really major. And all of a sudden, it took about 2 weeks for the entire building to start crumbling, and then it just became dust. Not to spend too much time on this, I do like talking about all this. I love talking about the future, as dark and as dystopian sometimes as it may be. I think we are in a very, I'll say it, we're in a very privileged position. Even if you can only afford $100 per month to get into the cryptocurrency space, to put into Bitcoin, there are people who live off of $2 or $3 a day to feed them and their families. So just keep in mind, you may not think so, but you are farther ahead than billions of other people on this planet. The economy is going to crash at some point, and it's more of a question of what is going to happen to the cryptocurrency space, because we've never been in a situation where the world collapses and Bitcoin exists. The world collapsed before, and then Bitcoin was created. So what ends up happening now? Where does all that money flow to when the world economy falls on its backside? As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Strange Radio Central, Bankroll Network, Master Ventures in Thailand, 242 to the World, Triple M and J, My Keto Kitchen, Assam M. El Zofri, Adobo, Crypto and Beer Shipmate, Brady Niels, L. Doug, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, Crypto Joe, Mohair Maroney, Carl Birchenoff, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Rai, Yasha Harari, Amy Starjean, Jeffrey Ramsey, Clara T. Snowden, Crypto Artist, Coldy, 3D, Nicholas Wernerth, One Piece, One Love, Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich the Third, RF Dusty, Cody, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Tom Sucks at Basketball, and Sam Skips Leg Day, Jeremy the Photographer, Jim Gardner, Minting Coins, Arthur Yaku, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, and Mechanic. Thank you all very much for your support. At the moment, the crypto space is sideways trending. I can't really tell exactly what it's doing. Bitcoin is currently up by 1%, like 1 actual percent. It's sitting at $9,600 US. Not much has really changed over the weekend. Like, it was a bit of a lull weekend, thank goodness. Got a chance to relax a little tiny bit. I didn't even get to relax. I still went outside. The point is, nothing is really up or down right now. Maybe there's some anomalies floating around out there. Not that I can actually tell. Nothing's up like a substantial amount in any way in comparison to something else. Like Nano's up by 5%, but it's not like a 25% growth rate up. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I have a very strange feeling. This is going to be a very weird week. I don't know if it's good weird or bad weird, but something in the air tells me this is going to be a very fascinating week for the cryptocurrency space. Thank you all once again for watching and listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.